Do you think he already forgot you? That he moved on? That his life continued? That what you two lived is now in the past? And that if he ever felt something for you, he no longer cares? Most women make the mistake of interpreting silence as indifference, distance as forgetfulness, and apparent calmness as moving on. But the emotional reality of men is much more complex than it seems on the surface. Not all pain makes noise, and not every absence is a sign of indifference. There are men who don't cry in front of you but do so when no one is watching. Men who block you but keep searching for your name. Men who say they're fine, but every post, every silence, every overly happy gesture is their way of hiding what they can't fully process. Male pain often goes underground, hidden in behaviors that to the female eye seem contradictory or senseless, but are actually sophisticated forms of emotional self-protection. Because when a man suffers in silence, he doesn't scream it, post it, or write it to you. He shows it only if you know how to look closely. This is a fundamental difference between male and female pain. While women tend to express their suffering more directly or suppress it entirely, men develop a more subtle, coded emotional language. It's as if they speak in code, waiting for someone sensitive enough to decode their signals. In this video, I'll show you the 7 silent signs a man shows when it still hurts to lose you. And he won't say it, either because his pride won't let him, or because you're no longer there to hear it. But his body, his energy, his gestures are already telling the story. These signs are not manipulation or mind games. They are authentic forms of emotional communication that arise when the heart has something to say, but the mind can't find the words or courage to express it directly. Let's begin. Sign number 1. He talks about you with others, but not with you. When a man has truly closed a chapter, he doesn't need to talk about you to anyone, not even jokingly. He turns you into silence, into memory, into the past, but when he still hurts, when something inside is unresolved, he mentions you, but doesn't reach out. And that says everything. Maybe a mutual friend tells you. Maybe someone says what he asked about you. Or, did you see how he mentioned you indirectly in a story or post? And you think, well, why doesn't he just message me directly? Because he can't. Because something inside him won't let him take that step. It's as if his heart wants to speak, but his mind locks it away. The vulnerability of reaching out feels too dangerous, too exposing. So he finds indirect ways to keep you present in his emotional world. His feelings are looking for a way out. And since he can't tell you directly, he releases it with others. When a man still feels something for you, even if he denies it, he starts venting to others. To friends, acquaintances, even to people he didn't expect to see again. He talks about what was, what hurt, what you did or didn't do. And if he does that, it's because he's still feeling it. This is one of the most common mechanisms of male grief, processing out loud what he can't yet close inside. And you're still part of his conversation, even if he says he's over you. It's as if he needs external validation to understand his own feelings. And by talking about you with others, he's not just venting, he's trying to make sense of what he lived, to find answers to questions he doesn't even know how to ask. In every conversation about you, he's trying to reconstruct the story in a way that allows him to move on. Don't take it as a sign to run back to him. Take it as confirmation that he's still not at peace. And if you're already growing, you don't need to insist. Just observe. The pain that's expressed indirectly is often the heaviest. Sign number 2, he avoids you in person but doesn't stop watching you. There's a kind of silence that isn't indifference. It's self-protection. A subtle way in which a man, when he still feels something, chooses not to come close but also can't stop looking. And if you've been part of his life, if you've left an emotional imprint, you've likely seen this sign. He doesn't talk to you, doesn't reach out, doesn't initiate anything, but if you're in the same place, the same room, or pass by him, you feel his presence, you feel him watching, even if he pretends not to care. He avoids direct eye contact, looks away when he senses you could notice him. But when you're not looking, he's looking. He studies you, analyzes you, taking in details he won't say out loud, but that will stay in his mind for days. How you were dressed, what you said, who you were with, whether you seemed happy, whether you looked like you'd moved on. All of this. Even if he swears he feels nothing, why does he do it? Because facing you would mean feeling again, and feeling hurts. His pride may tell him it's pointless. His mind wants to protect him, but his emotions are still attached. So he chooses distance, not as punishment, but as a barrier to avoid falling apart. It's an emotional survival strategy. He keeps visual contact because he needs to know how you are, but avoids getting close because he knows that doing so could collapse the entire self-protective structure he's built. And this is where many women go wrong. When they see him avoid them, they think he no longer cares. But that's not always the case. Many times, silent pain needs distance in order not to break. And if you are grounded, calm, not provoking or forcing interaction, he feels it. And his internal emotion intensifies because true detachment doesn't provoke. It leaves an impact. So if you see him avoiding you, but you know he's watching, don't chase him, don't confront him, don't ignore him with contempt. Just remain present, calm, and respectful, because in your tranquility, he feels the echo of everything he still hasn't been able to let go of. Your emotional stability in those moments becomes a mirror that shows him both what he lost and what he might still be able to regain. When you don't react with drama, when you don't fall into the trap of chasing or completely ignoring him, you're showing a level of emotional maturity that his heart recognizes and values, even if his pride won't admit it. Now we continue with the third sign. He acts like he's better than ever, in an exaggerated way. You see him posting smiling pictures, motivational messages, phrases like, "Everything happens for a reason," "I'm my own priority," or "alone but happy." He goes out with friends, appears more active, dresses up more than before, responds to your stories with indifference, and everything seems to indicate that he has moved on, but something doesn't add up. There's a forced energy behind every post, a smile that feels more like a silent scream than a genuine emotion. Because when a man suffers in silence, he doesn't always retreat into sadness. He disguises it. He tries to convince himself that he's fine, and in doing so, he wants others to believe it too, especially you. Every post, every story, every subtle visual hint isn't for his followers, it's for you. And if you're watching, he wants to make sure you see just how happy he is without you. Why does he do it? Because it still hurts, because he still feels something, and because he can't say it to you directly, so he shows it in the loudest way possible. It's like he's silently screaming, "Look how great I'm doing without you." But every scream hides a quiet plea that you'll see him, notice his effort, recognize that he still exists in your world. Because someone who's truly at peace doesn't need to prove it. Someone who's healed doesn't need to put on a show. But someone who is still broken inside often needs to pretend nothing affects him anymore. And here's the most delicate part. It's not about him acting out of malice. It's that he's fighting with himself. Because pretending he's okay is the only way he knows to defend himself from a pain he hasn't yet figured out how to process. And if you understand this, you don't need to react. You don't need to fall into the game of, "I'm doing better too." Just observe, because if you are truly at peace, your silence will speak louder than any filtered Instagram story. True emotional strength doesn't need to compete or prove anything. When a woman understands that behind every "I'm better than ever" is a heart still healing, she can respond with compassion, not with a wounded ego. Now, my dear friend, let's move on to the next sign. Sign number 4. He contradicts himself, overreacts, or gets angry for no clear reason. A man who is truly at peace responds with clarity, coherence, and calm. But when a man is hurting inside and doesn't know how to express it, his emotions begin to leak out in the most uncontrolled ways. He blocks you, then unblocks you, talks to you, then regrets it, ignores you for days, then replies coldly or with sarcasm. He posts indirect messages, unfollows you, and later follows you again. And you're left wondering, What does he want? Why is he doing this? The truth is simple. He wants not to feel, but he can't help it. He wants you not to matter, but craves your attention. He wants you to think he's fine, but every unresolved emotion eventually bubbles to the surface. And it's an internal war, the rational part saying, let her go, versus the emotional part whispering, but you still need her. And in the middle of that battle, you become the battlefield where all his contradictory emotions clash. This is what many women misinterpret as instability, but it's not a mental imbalance, it's unprocessed emotional grief. He feels vulnerable, and since he can't admit it hurts, he reacts in ways that seem exaggerated, disproportionate, or contradictory. And you become the target of that emotional storm, not because you deserve it, but because you still occupy space inside him. So then, what should you do? Don't play the same game, don't respond with sarcasm, don't add fuel to the emotional fire, just interpret what's really happening. He's suffering, but he doesn't know how to tell you without falling apart. And if you're centered, if you understand that those reactions are not attacks but expressions of unprocessed pain, then you don't need to respond. Just hold your presence from a distance. Because when a woman doesn't get dragged into drama and responds with emotional clarity, she becomes that point of calm he, deep down, still longs for. In these moments, your ability to remain composed isn't coldness, it's emotional wisdom. It's understanding that behind every contradiction is a man battling himself. And what he needs most is not for you to feed the chaos, but to offer a space of stability from which he can find his own peace. Fifth sign, he starts posting content designed for you to see. He doesn't talk to you, doesn't respond, claims he's over you, might have even blocked you somewhere, but not everywhere. And suddenly, he starts posting more stories, photos where he looks better than ever, songs that feel like indirect messages, quotes that reflect things you both lived, posts that only someone like you could emotionally interpret. And you ask yourself, is this for me or am I imagining things? You're not imagining it. When a man suffers silently for you, but can't or doesn't want to talk to you, social media becomes his emotional outlet. That's where he sends everything he can't say, and he does it with the perfect excuse. It's not for you, even though both of you know it is, because if he didn't want you to see it, he simply wouldn't show it. But he does, and you're there, watching, feeling, and probably he's also watching to see if you react, even if you don't hit like. Why does he do it? Because he needs to feel that he still stirs something in you, that he still has an impact, that his presence is still alive in your mind. And at the same time, he preserves his pride because technically he didn't message you. It's a passive emotional dance, but filled with intention. And what should you do? Don't react on impulse. Don't confront him with, was that for me? Don't fall into the trap of confirming his effect. Just observe. And if you truly want to reconnect, do it from your center, not from the need to validate what you saw. Because if he still needs to show you that he's better, that he looks amazing, that his life is full, it's because on some internal level he's still hoping you're watching. It's a fascinating emotional paradox. The more he tries to show he doesn't need you, the more he confirms that there's still a part of him seeking your validation, your recognition, your presence in his world, even if only from afar. Now I'll tell you the sixth sign. He blocks you, unblocks you, disappears, and reappears. One day you might open your chat and find it gone. You're blocked. No explanation, no argument beforehand. And days later, without saying a word, the block disappears. There's no message, no excuses, but now you can see him again. Maybe he even reacts to something you posted as if nothing happened. Or maybe he just quietly makes himself visible again, and you think, what was that? Why is he doing this? The answer isn't in the action, but in the pain behind it. When a man suffers silently and can't manage it calmly, his need for emotional control leads him to cut off the channel with you. Blocking you is his way of protecting himself, of feeling strong, of setting boundaries. But the problem is, his feelings are still alive, and when the intensity fades, when anger turns into longing, when absence feels too real, he comes back. Not necessarily with a message, not necessarily speaking, but just unblocking you is a message in itself. I still don't know if I want you here, but I also don't want you completely gone. And that emotional ambivalence is one of the deepest signs of silent suffering, because someone who has truly healed doesn't need to cut and restore the connection every week, but someone who's still hurting doesn't know whether to let go or pull you closer. So what should you do? Don't react with drama. Don't ask, why did you block me? Don't play the same game of returning the gesture. Just interpret, he is emotionally disorganized. And you, if you're centered, don't need to enter that back and forth. Stay grounded, calm, present from your place. Because if you're the only one who doesn't come and go, he will feel it. And in the middle of his chaos, you'll represent the stability his heart still longs for, even if his mind won't admit it. Your emotional consistency in the midst of his inner storm becomes a lighthouse. While he battles his contradictory emotions, you become that steady reference point reminding him what peace feels like. And even if he won't say it, that stability you hold is something a part of him still longs to get back. We're nearing the end. Now I'll tell you the seventh and final sign for today. He doesn't reach out, but he doesn't let anyone else take your place.
He doesn't write, doesn't call, doesn't beg. And you might think he's forgotten you, that he's already with someone else, that his life has moved on. But silently, he's unable to connect with anyone. It's not that he lacks options. It's not that no one is interested. It's that no one triggers in him what you once did. And that frustrates him. Because he wants to move forward, he wants to feel free, he wants to experience something new. But with every attempt, he compares, he remembers, he relives.
He goes out with someone but feels empty. He gets messages but doesn't reply with the same excitement. He receives attention but doesn't feel moved. Because deep down, there's a space you once occupied that he hasn't been able to replace. And the most striking part is, you don't see any of this because he doesn't say it. He doesn't post about it. He doesn't express it. He just lives it. In every night where he can't find someone to truly connect with. In every date that ends up being a shadow of what he had with you. In every time he smiles without really feeling it. When a man won't let anyone else in, even while claiming he's moved on, it's because you're still inside. And his silence, his distance, his apparent coldness, they're not signs of forgetting. They're signs of an internal struggle, a struggle you don't see, but one he lives through every day without anyone to hear him. It's the quietest and most painful battle, wanting to move on, but not being able to. Wanting to feel something for someone new, but constantly comparing. Wanting to open his heart, but finding it still occupied by your memory. And the hardest part is, no one understands why he just can't move on. Not even him.
Now you know. Just because he doesn't text you, doesn't cry for you, doesn't say it, doesn't mean he doesn't feel. There's a type of man who suffers in silence, not because he wants to, but because he doesn't know how to do it any other way.
And his pain doesn't show in tears. It shows in contradictions, in sudden blockings, in stories that feel like indirect messages, in glances that hide, in absences that weigh more than any goodbye. Don't be fooled. Don't think silence means forgetting. Sometimes, silence is the loudest scream of someone who doesn't know how to let you go. If this video helped you understand things you once ignored, if it helped you read what was never said with words, subscribe. This channel isn't just about love, it's about understanding the deep emotional language no one ever taught us to decode. Turn on the notification bell, share this video with someone who still believes he's over her, when in truth, he's still feeling her more than he dares to admit. And remember this, a man may stop talking to you, but if he hasn't stopped feeling you, sooner or later, you'll notice.